Hello, everybody. It's James here, WSI, and quite frankly, my next guest is the most, if not the most requested, the most asked about of all the guests I've ever had. This is Alex Wright, by the way. Say hello, Alex.
Achtung, here's Alex Wright from Germany. I can't wait to do this interview. I'm really excited.
Good.
Thanks.
I'm so glad you said that as well, because I was already flagging doing the intro quite badly, so I'm pleased you helped me out there. I put out about less than 24 hours ago, have you got a question for Alex Wright? And hundreds came back.
Oh, really?
That's
nice.
You are by far the most popular as far as people who want to know certain things about. Now, 4 or 5 things have come up constantly that I will have to address in the interview. But before I do, I'm sorry I'm doing everything sort of backwards. I've written 2 books, Amazon, The Rock, you know what they are, the links are in the description, and Owen, Hart, King of Pranks. Both 4.7 stars out of 5 on Amazon, so you can't say much better than that. So that's the mark of quality. But for now, thank you so much for coming on, Alex. I've been particularly excited to have you on. And the first thing I've got to ask you is, you are half English.
Yes.
Your dad is English, and your dad grew up about 20 miles from where I live, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. So how come? So were you born in Germany?
Yes, in Nuremberg, Germany. Yes.
Right. So how did your dad, Steve Wright, or Steve? Is he Steve or Stephen?
Well, actually, his real name is Stephen, but he went in the ring as Steve Wright.
So, Steve Wright, you've got to tell me a bit about your dad, because he's somebody who doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page, but for the people in the know, he's pretty respected, not only as a wrestler, but as a shooter back in the day. So tell me what you know about your dad in his heyday in the 60s and 70s.
Well, he's very well respected, and back in the day, in the 70s and in the 80s, I really can't tell you that much about it. I can tell you about the time when I was born. First of all, he's a great dad, and definitely a great wrestler, and a really hard and tough trainer.
Is he still? Sorry, is he still alive now, and is he still training now?
No, he's still alive. Yeah, but he's not training on a regular basis. He helps me out in my wrestling school, the Right Stuff Pro Wrestling School, and sometimes he comes around and teaches young students, because he really enjoys wrestling. I mean, it's in his blood, just like in my blood, And I'm a second generation wrestler. My dad wrestled like 26 years professionally, international. He wrestled for New Japan and for the big companies in Mexico, and he wrestled for Stu Hart in Canada, and he wrestled for Vern Gagne in the States. They still had the territories at that time, and of course he wrestled all over Europe, especially for CWA, which was back in the day the biggest European wrestling promotion. Just for an example, like when I started at the age of 16, and I had my first world title match in Bremen, Germany. It was an independent company, CWA, with no TV, and they still sold out that arena. It was like 12,000 spectators. That's very big for an independent company. But anyway, my dad has a big reputation in the sport, and as well as a wrestler and a shooter. Yeah, that's true.
I'm glad you said the word shooter, because you've got to have a story about your dad putting someone in their place.
Well, the thing is, my father never backed down, and he always told me, if something happened in the locker room or whatever in the business, you have to stand your man and show you're tough. And he lived that way. And there was a certain occasion in Japan with somebody, and it didn't went very well for the other guy in that situation. And a couple of years later, of course, when I wrestled for WCW, they had a deal with New Japan going on, and I went over there for the Super J Cup. I think I was like 20 or 21 years old, and that guy was still in that company. So everybody in the locker room from the Japanese guys were looking, oh my God, what's going to happen here now? Because, you know, the guy knew I'm the son of Steve Wright, but the guy was very nice to me, very friendly, came up to me, and we shook hands, and that's it.
The guy. I take it no names are forthcoming, but was he local?
But actually, even if I would like to tell you the name, I can't remember it. Because it was a Japanese name, so
if you remember it, let me know. As you say, you got started in your home country, Germany, around 1991 or 92.
Oh, let me see. I was 16, so 92.
92. And how long before you go into your first CWA tent tour with Otto Vance?
Pardon me again?
So how long was it before, let's say, your debut to going on the tent tours for Otto Vance?
Oh, okay. Well, that actually was CWA.
Yeah.
My first debut in Wuppertal, Germany was for CWA, and the following year, I think they already offered me a 1-year contract to go on tour with them. And before I started actually doing professional wrestling, I did many years amateur wrestling, or I think you say amateur wrestling, right?
Yeah.
It's amateur wrestling, yes. And also I did competitive swimming and competitive weightlifting, all kind of stuff. And of course, my dad trained me for many years. I think the first time I went into the ring, I was like a baby when I was crawling around and stuff like that. And what's very important, it always was my free decision to learn that sport. I never got pressure or anything like that.
You were obviously, you go to WCW when you were like 19, and you must have been one of those, like, there's always one kid in every high school that looks like a full-grown man when they're like 12. I take it you were just like, were you like 6'3" or whatever you were, and you know, just fully muscled up?
Well, I always was one of the tallest. Yeah, that's true, and I always was very far in my how you say
development.
Yes, exactly. Development. Yeah.
Going back to the tent tours, did you actually ever wrestle Otto? And can you talk about how the tent tours were set up, how many weeks you'd be in a certain town, and how many months off would you get?
Actually, I never got to wrestle Big Otto. No. I'm very sad, because I really would like to wrestle him, because he was such a great guy, you know, such a nice guy. And I mean, all those guys back in the day, you know, they see me grew up and stuff like that. So they were like a big family, you know. In Europe, CWA, they traveled, they had shows in Austria and in Germany. And in every city, you were staying like a few days to several weeks. And it was just, you know, through the day, you did your stuff, what you had to do, yeah, and when training or whatever, and at night you had to be at the building, and then they had tournaments going on. You know, like in Vienna, big tournament, I think for, was it 6 weeks or 2 months, something like that. Very, very famous place, the Heumarkt, open air. So, yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Actually, I enjoyed it more than the traveling every day in the States, because it's much more stressful in the States, you know.
I went to Vienna in April. So is it the big carnival sort of at the top of the city? You know, the big
no,
big
the
theme park?
No, not the Prada. No, it's in the city. It's like a ice, how you say, ice stadium, where we could, like in New York, when it's wintertime, you can ice skate.
Right.
That's it. That's like that in the summertime, just without the ice. And then it was a big tent and stuff like that.
You said that you didn't wrestle Otto, but you did wrestle Fit Finlay.
I wrestled Fit Finlay. Yeah, he was one of my few first opponents. Yeah.
And everybody's
he was very tough guy. Yeah, very, very tough and very solid working. Yes, but I was used to it. I mean, my dad taught me that way to work very solid. And I remember a time I wrestled in Hanover it was also a tent show, and was a tournament for, I think, was it like 6 weeks also. But anyway, I wrestled fit, and in the first round, I think he knocked me out by accident. And I went back in the corner to my dad and said, he knocked me out, and he said, "Get up, just keep wrestling." I said, "Oh man." Yeah, I was like 16, 17 years old. Yeah. But it makes it tough for the business. Yeah, it prepares you for the coming shows and matches.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, because you are the son of a famous wrestler, nobody took it easy on you because you were the son of a famous wrestler, basically.
Exactly. I mean, the expectation was really high. Was a lot of pressure. What I put on myself, because, I didn't want to disappoint my dad, and I didn't want to disappoint the fans and myself, of course. So yeah, a lot of guys tested me. That's true.
Anybody else you want to mention who may have tested you to see where you were at?
There's a long list, because when I started, I was one of the youngest wrestlers in Europe. And even when I went to the States, then at the age of 18, I was, my colleagues there, the youngest colleague I had was Bagwell, Marcus Bagwell. He was like 25 at that time, still 6 or 7 years older than me. And everybody else was 30 and up. So in the States, you're a fully adult at the age of 21. And I was a foreigner, and I was a German guy. So yeah, not very sympathetic to all the people there,
I like how you told me that, I've not spoke English in a while, and you've just thrown the word sympathetic at me as well. Yeah. So clearly your English is excellent still.
Oh, was it correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, great.
We'll move on to WCW then, because you've already alluded to it, and we know you best, I imagine most people around the world, from your WCW run. And was it your first ever dark match? It happened to be the same event where Vader and Cactus Jack wrestled, and Mick Foley lost his ear.
Yeah, exactly. No, actually, was it the first? Yeah, I think it was the first, against Paul Roma in Munich. Because the thing, like I said before, I was one of the youngest wrestlers in Europe and the youngest in Germany. So I got a lot of media attention. And I was invited to a lot of talk shows and radio shows and TV shows. And there was a very big TV show which was run by Schreinemakers. And she was really famous. And WCW sent 2 of the wrestlers to the talk show for the topic wrestling. It was Johnny B. Bad and Sting at the time. And they invited me as a German wrestler and as the youngest wrestler in Germany. And that's how I got in touch with WCW. I met the tour manager, and they said, "Hey, listen, why don't you show up? We have a tour running in Germany, through Germany. We're in Munich." And they invited me to the show. And my dad, being, a veteran in the business, he said, "Hey, kid, you never know what's going to happen. Take your wrestling gear with you." Of course, I did. And that night, somebody got hurt, and they offered me a match. And I had my matches there. It was Paul Roma, and it was actually a very good match. And they said, "Hey, listen, do you want to finish the tour with us?" Well, of course, I took the chance, chance in a lifetime for a young kid like me. And that was the night also when Mick Foley lost his ear. That was very memorable for me. A crazy guy running around with his ear in his hand backstage. "See, my ear. Crazy guy, yeah.
Did you ever speak to Mick? Because he speaks German as well, which I found quite interesting. Did he ever speak German to you?
I think that night, he did, when he met me, But afterwards, he was one of the how would I say, big names on the road, and I was really young, so I kept holding back. I didn't talk to anybody. I was, a little bit imitated, So,
give me how many matches you wrestled for WCW before you were called to, let's say, the head office, and you were offered a contract.
Well, I really can't recall how many matches on that tour were left, but I finished the tour with them. And Ric Flair was the booker at the time, and he really liked my performance and my attitude. And when I was in the ring, I wasn't imitated. I didn't care who was my opponent, because my dad taught me that way. And but anyway, after the tour, Rick, I think Eric Bischoff was there too, but I'm not sure 100% anymore. But anyway, Rick offered me, asked me if I want to come to the States right after the tour. And, that was a shock to me, because I had just signed a contract with CWA for the next year. But on the other hand, WCW, being a TV, being on TV, big chance, I could wrestle worldwide and stuff like that. So I had to talk to CWA, and my dad, of course, talked to them. And because they really wanted to feature me and help me out, and don't be in the way from the future, they said, okay, we are okay with it. You can wrestle for WCW. And I'm very thankful for that, because that was the biggest chance I ever had, and I think a week later I had to decide if I take the contract, which I did. Then I moved by myself to the States. At that time I was already engaged, by the way.
Oh really? Did you bring your the missus
no,
over?
I couldn't. I mean, she wasn't even 18, so.
Oh right.
So their parents, they were under shock, because my wife, actually my fiancée at that time, she told them that she wanted to go to the States also. And I was by myself the first half year in the States, and had a long distance relationship. And then my fiancée came over.
Right. Crikey, well, that's some dedication, especially when you're 19, 20 and on the road, far away from home.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, there are a lot of temptations, of course, like it is if you're some sort famous. But I was always, how you say?
A good boy.
Pardon me?
You're a good boy on the road.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, good man. So probably one of, if not your first real proper feud, was with Triple H, or I can't even remember his name. Was it Jean-Paul Levesque at the time?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I suppose memories of Triple H at the time, because I suppose you two had more or less the same amount of experience. So who was leading who in that set of matches?
That's a long time ago. I think that was 97, right?
No, this is 94. 94 and 95.
Oh, yeah, Starrcade, exactly.
Yeah.
Starrcade, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, almost, oh my God. No, I really can't recall. The thing is, I think we just worked good with each other. We had a good chemistry. There was nobody leading nobody, because I mean, if I step in a ring with a Ric Flair or with an Arn Anderson, of course, they let me through the match. But when you wrestle a guy who's about the same level as you, you just do your stuff and he does his stuff, and you just try to have a good match.
And how nervous were you on the first Starrcade? I mean, do you even get nervous at that point?
Actually, I was always a little bit nervous before my matches, and I think if you are not nervous anymore, you just don't have the passion for the sport anymore, because it just shows that you care about what's going to happen and you want to give your best for the audience. And so I always was a little bit nervous. But if you were standing in the ring with opponents where they want to work with you and they're like good workers and stuff like that, then of course you were not that nervous.
You mentioned veterans before, like a Ric Flair or an Arn Anderson, and I believe that's probably your first television feud with a real established name, and you're going after, I believe, is it the TV title as well at that point? So this is your first big. You might have to take my word for it.
Exactly. I mean, that's a really long time ago. Yeah.
So tell me what it's like instead of wrestling a Triple H, a young Triple H. an Arn Anderson with 15, 20 years of experience behind him and all the respect in the world. Was he kind to the young guys like you?
Well, he definitely was kind to me, yes. I don't know if he was kind to all the young boys, but yeah, he was kind to me. And there were not that many young boys at that time. I mean, I was, for a long period of time, I was the youngest. I think I was like 3 years in WCW, and then it started coming up young guys. And even the young guys, actually the rookies, they were sometimes older than me. But anyway, Arn was a very nice guy. Yeah. And as soon as I locked up with him in the match, you feel how calm he was, you know, and then this transports to yourself, and then you get calm, you know, everything is running well now.
In WCW, of the veterans who were there at the time, who were the kindest with their time and who would give you the most time in the match as well to let you show your stuff?
Well, actually, it was Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, who was there, the Stunning Steve, Stone Cold. And all the other guys, they came later in, Big Boss Man, Mike Rotunda, Harlem Heat were really good. I mean, there were a lot of guys. They all, you know. At first, I had a hard time, like I said before, because being that young, being a foreigner, and being German, you know, people were kind of distant to me, you know. But after a while, since they saw that I have a good attitude and I wanted to learn, and I always try to give my best and stuff like that. And after half a year, after 9 months, everybody worked very well with me. Yeah, it was good.
I interviewed Buff Bagwell not too long ago, and he said that there were certain people, certain like road agents, who were older veteran wrestlers who were never massively over on their own, like Greg Garnier and Mike Graham. And they had the attitude, according to Buff Bagwell, that they didn't want to help the young guys. They wanted to be, they think they should have had the young guys' spots on the card, essentially. Was that something you found as well?
Yeah, there were was a few occasions. They always try to, you know, how do you say, provocate you?
Yeah, I understand,
yes. You know, just with stuff they would say to you, stuff like that. And I had some situations there, but, you know, it was, it was, how you say, geregelt. I managed the situation.
Any specific situations that you can recall, or you not want to bring them up?
They're not a big deal. You know, it was just like provocations, and one of those guys you mentioned, I just stop and stand up in front of him and said, "Okay, you want to go outside and want to," you know, but he didn't. So
Good for you. Were they always trying to tell you to slow down?
What do you mean? But in confrontations?
Or no. Let's say in your match, and an agent would always say to the young guys, slow down. Were you always told to slow down?
Yeah, because I was very quick on my feet again.
Yeah.
I was very fast because I was like going quick. But that's what you learn after a while, to calm down and take your time and stuff like that.
Somebody asked me to ask this. Did Buff Bagwell steal your dancing gimmick?
When was that?
I don't know.
I never saw him dancing.
I think he did more of an arm swaying kind of thing, and then a...
Oh, yeah. No, you can't compare that. That's totally different.
I'm going to ask this then, actually, and this brings up Buff Bagwell again. And many people ask me to ask you this. And normally, I'm doing this in time order, but in this one, I'm skipping ahead. This is 1999, All Brawl, WCW pay-per-view. You were meant to wrestle Buff Bagwell, and then he refuses to wrestle. And then he is replaced by Jim Duggan, who then, for whatever reason, decides he doesn't want to sell your offense.
Yes.
Give me the entire story.
Well, the entire story was 99. It was already very bad backstage politics. was a time when all the boys didn't know if they're going to have a job on the next day, because, ratings were down, and ticket sales were down, and nobody really knew who was the actual boss anymore backstage. And I just started my new gimmick, Berlin, which was over very well. I mean, got over very well. And Eric Bischoff was really behind that gimmick. And then, Vince Russo was in the company also at that time, coming in and having his own style and stuff like that. And backstage, we were like struggling for the power, I think, in my opinion, at least. And all the boys didn't know on what team they should bet, basically. And I think having that in your back of your mind, that you don't know if tomorrow you're going to be in WCW or in WWE or whatever, people try to protect their how you say worth, the mark
spot.
Not their spot, the how worth their gimmick is, how on the market.
Yeah.
So if they would lose, it goes down. It's not that interesting for all the promoter to bring you in, or you get less in your contract money. So I think Bagwell just tried to protect his gimmick. And actually, I was always good friends with Bagwell, because when I came to the States, he really helped me out many, many times, right at the beginning. And also Johnny B. Bad, good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, he helped me out many, many times. He was the first guy who said, hey, kid, I take you on the road with me. We share a car, because I was at that age, I couldn't even rent a car. So I had a lot of problems which the other guys didn't have. And at the beginning, nobody wanted to ride with me or give me a ride. And Johnny Bad helped me out, and Bagwell helped me out. And DDP also was a really, really nice guy and helped me out many, many times. But anyway, I was friends after '99 also with Bagwell. There's no heat between us or anything, because I understood the business side. And Hacksaw, I don't know what's going on. I heard afterwards that when we got the order and I left the room, that other people said to him, okay, don't sell for him.
So backstage politics once again.
Yeah, because they wanted to bury that gimmick, certain people, because they knew that gimmick was over, but that gimmick came from Eric Bischoff, or he was supported from it. So they didn't want an idea or a gimmick which was, released by Eric Bischoff, that it was, being successful.
Yeah. We are going to play a little game now. So I call it name association. I will give you a sentence and you tell me the first person who comes to mind that matches that sentence best. And the first one is funniest person in the locker room.
Disco Inferno.
Just funniest looking or funniest haha?
No, funniest haha.
Jokes, or give us a disco joke.
A disco joke? No, he talked so much. Sometimes it was really great, and sometimes it was just stupid. Not jokes. It's stupid stuff sometimes.
Okay. Last man standing at the bar.
Ric Flair.
That's an easy one. The most beautiful Nitro girl in real life.
I really wouldn't know what to say. Kimberly, maybe Kimberly Page at that time.
Yeah, I think that's a fine answer. Biggest bully.
There weren't that many bullies in the sport. It's always like if you let yourself bully, if No, I wouldn't know any.
No, okay. The smelliest wrestler.
I could tell you a name, but I won't. Because I think that's not fair throwing out something like that because it's my own opinion, and the guy can't defend himself. So.
Oh, okay then. Stiffest wrestler.
I would say Finley, my dad, Kanemoto.
The nicest person in the wrestling business.
Mark Merrow,
Mm-hmm.
DDP, Pete Gruner. I mean, Billy Kidman, Disco. I mean, there are many nice guys, really.
The most miserable person to be in the locker room with.
Can't give you any name now.
No,
I wouldn't know where. I mean, not on a regular basis. Everybody had sometimes a bad day, but not that would I say this guy was always
just always like Eeyore the donkey.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't know anybody.
Okay, then the biggest ladies' man.
Biggest ladies' man. Oh, well, Bagwell maybe.
Who maybe had like the lowest standards when it came to being a ladies' man?
What do you mean by lowest standards?
I'm gonna say just the first girl that walked through the bar, they grab them and take them away, no matter what they look like.
I think it always depended on how many drinks you had, right?
That's a good answer. The worst gimmick ever, in your opinion?
The Rooster.
The Red Rooster, Terry Taylor?
Yeah.
Fine answer. The loudest...
By the way, he's a very good wrestler. I mean, he deserved better than that.
Yeah?
Yeah, very good work.
He's the only person, I think him and Bruce Pritchard are the only people on Earth who defend that character as being good.
Well, he has no other choice, right?
Exactly. The loudest spot caller.
In my days when I wrestled there, the calling wasn't that much in the match. You just wrestled.
So there was nobody who just went, "Stop the clothesline!" As loud as they could.
No.
Good.
Because you would have received a lot of heat for that.
Let me have a look at one more. Your favorite year in the wrestling business?
There actually are two. 95 and the first year when I had my debut match.
The most legitimate, tough badass?
My dad.
I knew you'd say your dad as well. Okay, excluding your dad.
Yes, you can question a lot of people about stories, what happened in the business.
Well, if he ever wants to do an interview, I'll gladly have him on.
Okay.
The best ribber?
Dean Malenko.
Really? I've never had that name before. What ribs did he do?
A lot of ribs. I just told my son just a few days ago when I was in New Japan. I met Eddie and Dean. They were not, at that time, they didn't wrestle for WCW. And they said, "Hey, kid, we'll bring you out. We'll go out to Roppongi. That's the party place in Tokyo." And we were going to that Planet Hollywood there. And they ordered drinks and whatever. And suddenly, I mean, I didn't know those guys. Okay? They just came up. They gave me a kiss on the cheek here and here. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing here?" They're just joking around with me. Or he said, "Hey, kid, I invite you to a couple of drinks." We were in a bar, and I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, So he ordered a Shirley Temple for me, some sort of cocktail. He said, very strong, and I, of course, I didn't want to insult him, and I, socializing with the boys and stuff like that. And I kept drinking, and he ordered one more, and one more, and one more, and after a while, I had about 15 of those. They were really sweet. I mean, unbelievable. I felt sick, actually, getting sick. And he asked me, "Hey, do you feel the liquor kicking in?" And I said, "Yes, I feel it." And I did feel it. And then all the boys started laughing. It was just some sort of sugar sweetened stuff. I mean, there was no liquor in it. And I was feeling so sick. Or on the other thing, they actually said, Eddie and Dean said, "Hey, tonight you wrestled this Japanese guy. He was a former champion here, and he said he gonna kick your ass." I mean, they really stirred the shit, and I was young, and I said, "No, that's not gonna happen." So I went in the match, and I kicked that guy's ass for 10 minutes. I didn't give him nothing. I ended up talking to the New Japan office. They were saying, "Hey, why did you do that? You know, you can't do that, you know." And then I realized they just, you know, played a joke on me. And the same match they put on my underwear, on my T-string, they put icing spray.
Oh God. Right,
so
yeah.
my ass was burning so bad, you know. And yeah, it was all stuff like that they did, you know.
Good for them. And the very last one is the most memorable backstage fight.
You mean mine or
no anybody's?
Okay. I think Vader against Paul Orndorff.
Were you? A lot of people claim to be in the locker room at the time. Were you just in the building, or were you watching?
No, I was right beside it when it happened. I actually, was right beside me.
Go on then. You've got to give us the blow by blow. I've heard a couple of people say that actually Vader did mount a comeback and started winning the fight at some point. Other people say Paul Orndorff just killed him.
That's another thing. It's so long ago. I just know that Paul Orndorff kicked his ass and he just had slippers on.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, you know, Vader being that big and strong, and Paul Orndorff, you know, he had that bad arm and just slippers, and he kicked his ass. That was the end of the deal, you know. But that was very memorable. Yeah.
Well, there's I'll move on to the next question then, and it's another one where it's an awkward match for you and Paul Roma, and he gets fired later that day. Can you tell me exactly what happened that day at Super Bowl 1995?
Well, that's another thing. I mean, I didn't have that experience being still rookie, you know. I got taught by my dad that I always respect the veterans. And of course, Paul was a great worker, and he was, of course, a veteran to me. And in Germany, the first match which I had with him was a very good match. So the problem was that I think he didn't like the order what the office gave him, and he was pissed actually at the office. And I was the guy who got it up. You know, I mean, we had a totally different plan, and he just switched everything around, and was very sad and very unprofessional because I could have had such a great match with him, and he could have taught me so much if he wanted to, but he didn't. And in my opinion, it was not professional, you know, to act that way, because it wasn't my fault that the order came like it was, you know. And I didn't fight back that much in that match because, like I said before, I was like, what was it, 99? Or when
this
was it?
1995, so you're only with the company about a year.
Yeah, so being new in the company and being just 19 years old, you know, I thought I was afraid to lose my job if I would fight back in that match. And that's it, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it definitely was the wrong decision to do it to which Paul did, because he lost the job for that shit, you know.
Did were you there when he got fired, or were you just sort of consoled and people said definitely not your fault, he was completely in the wrong?
No, actually, they said they asked me what happened, and I told them what happened, and they said, "Hey, listen, kid, next time if something happened like that, you just have to you know, kick some ass,
yeah,
and defend yourself," which I did from that moment on, because then I knew, okay, that's okay. And yeah, no, and he got fired, I think 6 weeks later or something like that.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. We will move on to the two most requested questions from the people on the WSI community board, and out of the 100...
A dancing question, right?
Unbelievably, there's two, and the dancing question was the second most popular
what a wonder.
question.
Yeah,
so, okay, right, let's go to the dancing very quickly then. A lot of people said they just love to imitate it, and when I do it, I look like a bushwhacker.
Okay.
What is the proper way of moving your arms into the rhythm?
Okay. Okay. Well, actually, the secret on it is your hip, how you move your hip.
Hmm.
Because most of the guys who imitate it, they are very stiff in their hip, but you have to really be loose in the hip and push it forward, and then you use your arms in that way, in that direction. Yeah.
So it's all right. I won't harp on the dancing for too long because obviously it's the question you've been asked more than any other. But
No, that's okay.
well, I was going to say, and I've heard you actually say this before in another interview quite a few years ago, is that in Europe it wasn't that big of a deal to dance like that, but in America they thought it was like a stripper dance.
Well, actually, in Europe, it was not a big deal to dance techno because techno was very popular at the time. That was a unique dance what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people did that, even in Germany. So yeah, I think the reason why some people thought it's a stripper dance or whatever is because it wasn't actually techno wasn't in the States popular at that time. So I was my time ahead, so to speak. But it was the best thing I could do because people still remember me, and that's the most important thing. Being different in the sport, doing your own stuff, and that the people remember you and entertain the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other question that I swear every 10th question that came in was this. So there's a popular YouTube channel out there called Wrestling Bios, and the guy reviews old WCW and WWF shows. And whenever you come on, he goes nuts. He puts on like a little video called Saturday Wright Fever.
Really?
Yeah, he calls. He always says Alex Wright. He has a big bratwurst, and when you're.
I guess that's jealousy then.
No, well, the guy is actually a really big fan of yours, and it's not making fun. It's actually in good humor, but actually he's a huge fan, and a lot of people have come to sort of reappreciate you through these reviews. So a lot of people wanted me to ask your opinion.
Thank you very much on Wrestling Bios.
There you go. Right, Wrestling Bios. The Wrestling Bios guy wrote to me yesterday to ask it as well.
Okay.
There we go. I'll so someone, if you can, send Alex a clip of it and see if he likes it.
Yes, please.
Good stuff. Okay, we will move on then. And 1996, and of course the NWO comes in. WCW is on the ascension, and then they start taking over WWF every week in the ratings wars. But backstage, week on week, how did the locker room atmosphere change, or did it?
You mean when we were winning the rating wars?
Yeah, when Kevin Nash, Scott Hall came in, and the rest of the WWF guys.
Well, actually, we started winning the rating wars before that even. When they started with the cruiserweight division and all that stuff, they and then we went from 2 hours live to 3 hours live and stuff like that. I mean, it actually changed beforehand there, and of course, there was a big motivation in the locker room that we bring the best show. I mean, we had the TV standing in the locker room, and we were watching Raw simultaneously to Nitro, so we knew how they perform and how their show was going on, and if they did some spots which were planned in our matches, we just switched them around and did something better, it's just to top it, and no, actually that was a very good time, a very easy time. Everybody made money, everybody had a secure job, and that was a fun time, actually.
Yeah, with Nitro and Raw going head to head, was it always chaos on TV taping days?
No, I wouldn't say there was chaos. No, actually it was very well planned. I mean, you arrived at the building, you did your promos, your interviews, and photo shootings or whatever, or meet and greets, and then you had a few hours off, or you went training in the building if they had a gym, and you talk to your opponents or whatever, and then you had the show. Actually, it was very well planned, I would say.
Really? Okay. With the guys...
How started at the end when Vince Russo came in and stuff like that?
Well, I might be asking about Vince Russo in a couple of questions' time, actually. But of the established WWF stars, so I'll name some: Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, as well as the WCW guys, Sting, Luger, Randy Savage, Goldberg. Of all the big WCW stars in the late 90s, who were the most approachable? Who were the guys who would always have time for you?
Hogan was very nice, very friendly, very polite, and also Sting was a very nice guy. Really cool. It's always like that, it's not just in wrestling, it's anywhere you have a job. Some guys, very easygoing, and some guys, they have their nose right up in there.
Speaking of Lex Luger, I'm just
actually, no, he was a good guy also, because I had several matches with him, and I trained at his gym in Atlanta. Very nice guy also.
With one of your feuds, we're going sort of into... in fact, actually, I'm going to save a question for a bit later, and I'll ask this one now. So, late or sort of around the autumn of 1998, you enter into a feud with my favourite all-time wrestler, the British Bulldog.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fair to say that the Bulldog was not in his greatest frame of mind at the time. But can you talk about Davey Boy Smith at that point, and the matches you had, and how you thought they all went?
Well, like you said, he was a shadow of himself, That was very sad to see what struggles he had, personal struggles, For me, it was actually very special to step in the ring with him, because he was trained by the same trainer like my dad was trained by, Mr. Ted Bedlin. They came from the same wrestling school, the British Bulldogs. So it was a very special moment for me, and it was also very special because he, as two European wrestlers, wrestle in front of American crowd, could show what they could do. But since he had those personal problems, he wasn't that good like he used to be, and I was very sad. So he was limited,
What could he still do in 1998 that was like the Bulldog of old that you encouraged him to do?
He was still very, very strong, of course. And of course, the ring psychology is still going. But there were certain things, his body couldn't take all kind of moves anymore. And on occasions, he forgot something in a match or whatever, just being because of those personal problems. And I always thought, why did not anybody from the WCW office just reach out and help that guy, because it was obvious he had big problems,
Yeah, there's a very famous match at Fall Brawl 1998, the pay-per-view. You and Disco Inferno are wrestling Davey Boy and Jim Neidhart. You know what I'm going to ask. It's the match where the Ultimate Warrior was going to appear in the War Games, through the trapdoor. What were you told about the trapdoor beforehand, or was it even brought up?
No, I cannot recall that anybody told us there was a trapdoor, and that was very bad because he gorilla pressed me and slammed me right on it, and he didn't know. And I thought I broke in half, and he injured himself also in that match. So that was very. What's the word?
Well, just an unhappy situation all around. It sounds like. What was the
very responsible? Not very responsible from the office. Not telling us, okay, here in that area you shouldn't take any bumps.
Did WCW ever do anything like this in any other matches where they would create a dangerous environment to wrestle in and then not tell you?
No, not really.
No. Okay then. Was the problem that the door was made out of like wood, or was there like a handle on it or something that you landed on?
I don't know I don't know what it was made of. It was just unbelievable hard. It felt like concrete or steel. I mean, it was really hard.
Yeah, I bet it did, crikey. I'm obviously skipping through your career quite a lot because we have a limited amount of time together. One thing that quite a few people have asked me is, do you remember briefly appearing on a documentary called Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends? You are featured in
Berlin.
Yeah. Yes, because you were apparently going to debut a new character that night, and you were telling Louis Theroux. Do you know who Louis is beyond that interaction?
Really,
no.
So you're going to tell me now, I hope.
Well, no, he's very famous around here, but no, you ran it for a bit, and you said you were going to debut a new character called Alexander Wright, and then it ends up, I think, turning into Berlin shortly afterwards.
Well, at that time, they told me not to tell him the real gimmick name. But the funny story on the gimmick name was that the office never told me personally that my name is going to be Berlin. I was sitting at home watching with my wife wrestling, and they played a vignette of my new character, and suddenly it stand Berlin. And I turned to my wife and said, "Is that my new name?" that was crazy.
So what was the Berlin character then? Was it meant to be something incredibly sinister? Was it meant to be like a heavy metal thing or a steampunk thing?
Old-fashioned Gothic vampire style gimmick. That's what's it gonna be.
Yeah.
No Nazi, no stuff like that. What some people thought it was.
So it was just like old-fashioned Gothic, and I'm trying to think. So, like, any bits of the Berlin character that never made it to TV that you wanted to make to TV?
No, actually, they pushed anything I brought up to them, because Eric, like I said before, he thought it was a great gimmick. It was a very successful start, and they could have done really a lot with it. But since the bosses changed, they just canceled it.
Yeah. So you said it was Eric Bischoff's idea, was it? What was it? What was that based on?
No, it wasn't his idea. It was my idea.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go away from that pretty boy image, and I wanted to do something totally different. And like I said before, it's very important in the business to be different and unique and a trendsetter, and that's why I choose to do that kind of Gothic style stuff. I mean, nobody at that time when I came in WCW, nobody had earrings. I was the guy who had earrings. Nobody used the techno music. I used techno music. Nobody had flashy clothes on outside of the wrestling ring, or nobody wore bikers. Bikers, the cowboy boots without the point, stuff like that. I always try to be ahead of the time. And that was the same with that gimmick.
And whose idea was it to bring Jerry Tui? Is it Tui, how you pronounce his surname? The Wall.
Cute, I think. Yeah. I really don't know. Who brought? Actually, he came. Bam Bam Bigelow. He was the boy of Bam Bam Bigelow. He was a good friend of him, and he said, "Hey, listen, can he join that gimmick?" Very nice guy, Jerry. Very sad his ending.
I only realised today that the reason he was called The Wall was because you were called Berlin. I only just realised that today.
Okay.
And I was like, well.
But he was very big. I mean,
yeah,
unbelievable big. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you spend any time with him outside the ring, in the bars or anything? What kind of guy was he like?
He was a very calm guy, good-hearted guy. And at first, he started traveling with me when he came to the WCW. After a while, he switched to other people, and then he got drawn in this bad side of the wrestling business.
Yeah, and it happened to a lot of people, especially around that time. We'll move on to a couple more questions. I'll do the main event. I will thank you for your time. Let me see what I'm going to ask you. Yes, this is the one that I'm more interested than anyone else. Mm-hmm. WCW Nitro and WCW Thunder, the games, Mayhem, other ones. Talk about the process, or if you were involved at all in the making of these computer games.
Well, they called us. They said, "Hey, you're going to be on the game," and then you had to show up in the wrestling school, the power plant at that time. And the company which produced the game, they filmed all kind of moves and stuff like that, your whole move set. And actually, it was a very tough day that day because you had to jump a drop kick, I think 50 times. You know, do a German suplex 50 times. You know, I mean that's tough on your neck. And that's it. And a few months later, the release of the game was, and shortly after, you became your checks in the mail.
Did you at least get to do it on mats, or did you have to do it in the ring? These moves?
No, in the ring.
Oh right, so no protection at all. So you?
No, you just like in a match, you just had to do it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Do you remember filming, especially the promo, or so you'd have a character selection?
Pick me. This is Alex.
Yeah. So. Hey man, it's Alex Wright, the German. If you want to know what the Germans are about, pick me and you'll have one hell of a victory, I promise. I've known that off by heart. I've known that off by heart since the game came out.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a very sad individual, I understand. And something else about just the filming of the promos, if you listen very carefully, you can hear a lot of background noise happening. On the computer game, so you press circle, and then you can hear loads of background noise of people clanging around and talking.
Yeah, well, actually, they filmed it in the power plant.
Oh, did they really?
I think, yeah, or in another studio. Maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't a power plant. There was something else in a different studio.
And which game? I know it's a long time since, but which game gave you the best payoff?
I think it was that PlayStation game on the PlayStation 1, the first one. Yeah. From THQ was it? I never played the game. Fans always think if you're a wrestler, all wrestlers are so crazy and do everything. I mean, I like the lifestyle. I grew up in the business, but I have a life beside wrestling. So actually, I rarely watch wrestling nowadays, even because I have my own promotion and my own wrestling school. And before that, I trained, and my focus was on my wrestling matches, not afterwards watching wrestling.
Absolutely. I'll ask you one more, and then we'll do the main event. And you've said previously, or I've heard you say previously, that you weren't picked up by the WWF when WCW was purchased because you were signed to Time Warner.
Yeah.
How long were you signed to Time Warner for?
After they were sold, I think a year, maybe one more year.
So
they were like only two. I think there were like 10 WCW wrestlers which had directly a Time Warner contract.
So, I'm sorry, carry on.
Well, that showed me at that time that I was very important for the company, because they had still big plans for the future. And actually it was a very good contract, and that's the reason why I didn't took any offer from the WWE at that time that they buy out, because I rather took the money, save my body.
I don't blame you. I won't tell you. I won't say the number for everybody, but I know roughly what you were making, and I cannot blame you.
Okay.
So did the WWF or anyone from the company approach you to buy you out of your contract?
That's a long time ago. I know they approached me afterwards. When I moved back to Germany, they approached me twice. And I was very honored that they approached me and they were interested. But at that time, I just was mentally burned out. I mean, I was on the road, I think, almost 9 years or something like that. And your body was burned out, and backstage politics burned you out mentally, and I just said I had to get distance to the sport a little bit, go back to my roots here in Germany, And at that time when they approached me, I couldn't give 100% in the ring. So if I can't give 100% in the ring for the fans and for the promoter and for myself, I just had to say no, I can't. I'm thank you, but right now is not the time for me.
Absolutely. Did they come to you with any specific character or idea for you for the next 6 months if you actually went and debuted for the company?
No, actually, they just said they want to bring me over and they want to see me, and then they would actually talk there. But right when they just approached me, I said, no, I can't. Because I know I would have ended up like some sad tragedies of my colleagues, and I didn't want to end like that. You know, you have to listen to your body and to your mind up there if everything is going good.
Yeah. Well, you said your mind as well, and you've said about the politics. But as far as your body went, were you just aching really badly at the end of the WCW run and needed a rest, or were you just basically healthy and wanted to maintain that?
You know, I never was one of the heaviest guys. You know, I was tall, but not the heaviest. I mean, I always had about 225 to 235 pounds. And yeah, I mean, the biggest injury what I had was when I had the bleeding in my head and I was blind.
I don't know this story. Do tell. No.
Well, I stood right. My manager was Deborah McMichael, and they wanted to give me a real bad push. They wanted to make me the youngest US title holder at that time, and there was day of Nitro. I just got married. I just married my wife on Thursday. On Friday, I bought a house. Then I had Saturday show, Sunday pay-per-view, Monday Nitro, and I think it was it Toronto or somewhere up there somewhere, or Saginaw, I think. And I felt really bad that day. I had a lot of headaches and stuff like that. And the reason for that was I had a couple concussions beforehand, but I never took a break because I didn't want to lose my spot on the show. And yeah, I had headaches and felt funny and stuff like that. And then, but I wanted to do the match against Prince IK because they told me, hey, that's the next step to the US title. And yeah, during the match, he gave me an enziguri kick to the back of the head, and then blood vessel popped. And during the match, my vision went away. I kept wrestling. I finished the match, and then when I was walking back through the entrance curtain, I was totally blind.
Wow.
And then they rushed me to the emergency hospital, and yeah, that was one of the hardest calls. To call my wife and say, hey, listen, I'm blind. I don't know how huge you're going to be now.
Wow. How long did it take for your vision to come back?
It took a little more than a day. I mean, they said, well, since I was so young, they said, we're going to wait if my body absorbs the blood. The only really, dangerous situation what was at that moment was because the pressure in my brain was getting higher and higher and higher. And if it went too high, they said they would have had to open it up, you know. But luckily, my body absorbed the blood, and they gave me medication for the blood pressure and for the brain pressure and stuff like that. And then they did some sort of to check my brain. They cut up my artery and pushed up that long of a plastic tube to my brain while I was awake.
Oh.
You know? And they put some sort of fluid in my head, and it felt like my head was exploding. And yeah, they told me it was like a pop vessel, and I had to lay 1 week. I was not allowed to move, nothing. And then after that 1 week, when I got up, I mean, 1 week that happened, I wasn't able to walk anymore, really. My wife had to help me in the shower and wash me and stuff like that. And then I went back home, and I had to lay 1 month in bed in a dark bedroom. I wasn't allowed to move or nothing, you know.
And you went back. And you went back to
that's my life. I mean, that's my love and for the business. And so I started at home. I lived in Atlanta. The houses are built with wood style, you know, everything's wood and stuff like that. And after a while, I started taking bumps in my dining room. 1 bump, and I felt sick for 2 hours. Then I did another bump, because your brain had to get used to it again. And then I started training again. I always felt sick. And after a while, when I managed to get that under control, I went down to the power plant. and I started training there again. And then someday I said to the office, hey, listen, I'm ready again. I want to step in the ring. And they said, no, you're never going to step in the ring again. And I said, why? Because the doctor said there's a chance that you die. And I said, no, I want to step in the ring. I was like 22 years old or something like that. And well, they didn't let me. And what I did, I went to a lot of doctors. And then someday I found a doctor who said, yeah, he could, maybe, you know.
Was he not a very good doctor?
No, actually, it was a good doctor, very good doctor. And yeah, then I had to sign that thick of a contract where it said on every second page, you can die if you step in the ring. You can die. This when and all that stuff. And I didn't even read it. I signed it and then I went in the ring. But it took a while in the matches. I mean, the first few matches, I always felt still. I mean, there were certain times I wrestled at 10 p.m. on Nitro or whatever, and I drove from that arena to the next building, like in Montana or whatever. There's nothing around. I mean, and I felt sick, and I thought to myself, well, there's nobody around that can help you. You're just gonna die here by yourself on the street. Wow. But that after 3-4 months, the sickness went away, and then I wrestled many years. So
I just like how it took you 3-4 months of feeling like you were going to die after every match, and you still kept on with it. So that's
well,
that's
it wasn't
dedication.
that bad, but you once you have an injury like that, and you of course some thoughts pop in your head. It's like a little panic, and then you calm yourself down.
Wow, Mal, more respect to you for sort of powering through that. We're going to do the main event now. It's the same as the name association. I call it firing line. I'm just going to give you some names that you worked with in WCW. You just tell me what you think about them. For the most part, you're going to say they're all great guys, I'm sure. And then I will thank you for your time, get some plugs, and then we'll close this podcast down. But the first name is Mark Mero, and we've talked about him before already.
Yeah, great friend of mine. Unbelievable athlete, unbelievable motivation. I mean, really great guy.
Next one, Sabu.
He did take a lot of pain in his career. Crazy guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy, yeah.
Was that the first time you went through a table, the Sabu match on wherever it was, Nitro?
I'm actually not sure. I could be, yeah. But I just recall that nobody wanted to work with him because they were all afraid of his working style. And they said, okay, Alex, you have to work him. And I said, oh, no problem. I mean, I had a few good matches with him. He was a very nice guy. And yeah, WCW always put me against the new guys. Like Jericho had his first match in WCW against me, and Sabu had his first match against me, and what's his name? The other guy. I forgot him.
Oh, give us a clue.
Great high flyer in WWE now.
Ray. Eddie Guerrero.
No, he wrestled in TNA.
Oh, God. Anyway, someone out there will probably know who I mean. Right, I'll move on. I mentioned him before, Lex Luger.
Unbelievable body.
Mm-hmm. Chris Kanyon. I've never asked anyone about Chris Kanyon before.
Also a very nice guy. I traveled on a few occasions with him. Hard worker. Good worker. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sid.
Loose cannon.
Did anything in particular come to mind when I say Sid? Any particular incident?
He's very passionate about the sport, I guess. I mean, really passionate. So anything he does, he just goes.
Chris Benoit.
Very sad ending.
Did you ever wrestle? I think you wrestled Chris, didn't you?
I knew Chris from CWA. He wrestled many years in CWA. So I knew him when I was that old. And when I was in the States, I traveled with him and with Eddie and Dean a lot of times. He always was a quiet and really nice guy, friendly guy. but I don't know what happened to him, that he switched around like that and did something unbelievable and horrifying like that.
Yeah. The first person I think you probably were paired up on the road with in WCW for a long time was Bobby Eaton. Ooh, I think we've... One sec.
Okay.
Hello, internet went a bit down there in Germany's end, but I think we're all good. Are we sure we're all right, Alex?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Right, let's do the next one then. Bobby Eaton.
Unbelievable worker. Very, very nice guy. Very friendly to rookies. Helped me out a lot. And he was actually the first guy I wrestled on the road with.
I've always heard that he had like a massive duffel bag that he'd carry everywhere, and he always had every single thing anyone could possibly need in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, you always helped out somebody. Yeah.
What was the weirdest thing he carried with him?
The weirdest thing. Oh my God. I think the duffel bag by itself.
Okay, we'll move on then. We've asked about him already, so I'll say Norman Smiley.
The Wiggle.
The Big Wiggle, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, the performance trainer also, also a nice guy. I mean, you said it before. I mean, there were a lot of nice guys. And I got along with almost everybody there. So...
Juventud Guerrera.
Crazy little guy. I mean, there were a couple occasions. I mean, he's just a little guy, but he's crazy. I mean, really crazy. I mean, in Australia, we had a tour over there. 5 or more policemen didn't manage to control that little guy in a hotel lobby.
Now, I know the story, sort of, but you've got to give us the story now.
Well, me and Sting and a couple other guys were sitting in the hotel lobby, and we're eating some sushi. And suddenly the door of the hotel bursted open, and Juventud Guerrero came running in. I think he was naked. I can't recall really, but something was wrong with him. It was really crazy. And after him, there were like 5 or more policemen and trying to control that little guy, but they had a really, really tough time.
Was he fired after that, or did he stay with the company? I can't remember.
I really can't remember.
No, okay, I'll move on to the next.
I just know that the government wasn't very pleased about this happening in their country.
I can imagine so. The next one is Raven.
Great mind for the business, very creative.
Did you ever travel with Raven?
Some occasions, yes.
Is there anybody who talks more than Raven?
Disco.
Disco, very good.
Disco talks a lot.
I'll bring up Disco Inferno.
Also great guy, funny guy, traveled many times with him on the road. A lot of great memories.
When did he start bringing the big rubber duck to the matches?
I don't know. I mean, you never knew what's coming up next with Disco. I mean, he was, like I said, sometimes over the edge, You had to hold him a little bit back.
Disco's also famous for coming up with some of maybe the worst characters that never made it to TV ever. Like the most famous one is Bill Ding, the evil architect. And have you never heard that one?
No.
And I think also he may have wanted to book Mike Tenay, the announcer, as an alien and reveal that they're all aliens.
That's what I meant, Disco is unbelievable creative.
I'll give you this next one then. And for my money, the best cruiserweight in WCW. Sorry, current company excluded, Ultimo Dragon.
Actually, I would have guessed you would say Rey Mysterio now.
Yeah, but like as a kid, Ultimo Dragon was my man.
Oh, okay. Also, unbelievable wrestler, unbelievable athletes, but very heavy to lift. For that small guy, very heavy.
Is it because he had dense bones, or he just didn't want to go up?
No, it's just sometimes the Japanese style, they don't go with you like in the American style. You really have to lift them.
The Steiner brothers.
Unbelievable, powerful, really powerful.
Jimmy Hart.
Actually a guarantee for success, I would say, because he has so many great ideas and did that so much for the sport, and great mind for the sport.
Did he
and entertainment? That's very important.
Did he compose any of your theme songs, your entrance themes?
Actually, entrance themes, I'm not sure. Yeah, Berlin, it could be Berlin song, and he did a song with me.
Did he?
Yeah, actually, they forced me to. I should have sued him for that because I cannot sing, and they called me one day and said, okay, in 2 days we have to record a song. I said, what? I'm not able to sing. I can't sing. Yes, you have to. And then I was in the hotel room and I had a little cassette recorder and I was always singing and taping, and my wife was laughing her ass off because I'm not able to sing. And when I was at the studio, they finally realized that I told them the truth. I'm not able to sing. I can't sing. So they said, well, now you have to rap. Yeah, but I'm not able to rap either. I'm talent free for all that shit, But actually, they produced a very good song. I was very surprised.
Where can we find this song now? I'm intrigued.
It's called The Heartbeat Away.
Okay, right. That everybody get on it. Send me a link.
It's on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure.
Okay. Next one is, and apparently you worked with this guy in Japan, Brian Pillman. I had no idea.
Pardon me again?
Sorry, Brian Pillman.
Yeah, Brian Pillman. He's also a loose cannon, and tough shell, nice inside, I would say.
But you did wrestle him in Japan, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. Was this for WCW and you were sent over?
Yeah, actually it was in the Super J Cup.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 95, yeah.
How far did you get up in the tournament?
3rd place.
Really?
Yeah, I was 3rd, yeah. Benoit was 1st and I was 3rd. Yeah, so it was actually pretty successful for me because there were a lot of great guys in there. I mean, Eddie Dean and Gran Hamada and all kind of Kanimoto. I mean, I really enjoyed working in the States. I like the sportsmanship and I like how they respect the sport, and the fans are great, and the country is great. Different to the States. I mean, I love the States also, but I like that everyday wrestling and really go toe to toe and see who's the better sportsman. I like them.
And everybody's heavier there as well to lift.
So, yeah, everybody and really badasses and kicking and stuff like that. I mean, we had a 5-man tag match, all the Gaijins against their cruiserweights, the Japanese cruiserweights, and in that tag match, my team was Eddie Dean, Benoit, I think Pillman, somewhere. And that was such a tough match and such solid working in there that it was unbelievable. I mean, I felt like I was in a 2-hour brawl in there. And they kicked, I think Kanemoto kicked Eddie so hard with his boots that he instantly had all the laces on his leg. And it was really bad. But it was fun.
How many tours did you do for Japan?
Actually, that was that was the only tour.
So you've never been back. So after WCW,
I wrestled many Japanese guys for WCW, but I never went back to Japan.
Wow.
Because I was on a contract with WCW.
So after I could get down a rabbit hole of asking Japan questions, but were you never
You're a
tempted?
fan of Japan wrestling. Yeah.
Were you never tempted to go back to Japan after leaving WCW? Was that never on the card?
Of course. But the thing is, like I said before, I was burned out. And if your body tells you no and your mind tells you no, you have no choice to lay back and hope it gets better again.
Absolutely. Next name is Bobby Heenan.
Well, he had really funny stuff to say about me in the commentating. He was a great heel commentator, yeah.
Was he a heel with you as well, or did you see the funny side?
No, such a nice guy. Really nice guy.
Okay, we'll do a few more. Vampiro.
I loved the storyline which I had with him. The working against him and all. I liked his gimmick because he was like the modern vampire, and I was like the old-fashioned vampire. So I always hoped that they bring us together as a tag team. I really would enjoy that. And he could work really good. I mean, he had a hard time coming in WCW, and I never understood why, but he nice guy. Worked good matches with him. I had an unbelievable match in Hamburg, Germany against him. I mean, the crowd was so into it that after our match, they were silent. After they were so exhausted, and which gave us one side, the office was happy. On the other side, we got a lot of heat from the guys who worked the matches after us.
Did you win? You must have won.
I'm not sure because I was Berlin at the time, and Berlin was the bad guy.
I'll see if I can look it up for you. Who else am I going to ask? Oh yeah, one thing about Vampiros. Is it true that he didn't know how to bump until he got to WCW because he was used to the Mexican rolling style for so many years?
I couldn't recall. And every time I wrestled him, and every time I saw him working a match, even when he started in WCW, he could bump. I think that's a rumor.
Yeah. Ernest the Cat Miller.
Ernest. What can I say about him? I got along very good with him. He's a great karate guy. I enjoyed him in the movie The Wrestler. And matches, he was definitely entertaining.
Okay. Steve McMichael.
Very humble guy. Very, very down to earth. I mean, he was a big football star, and he had actually his storyline against me also, his first storyline. And you should guess a big football star like him, he would say, I don't care, I have a lot of money, I don't care about that, just do my stuff. But he actually wanted to learn and wanted to really do good. So I can't say anything bad about him.
No, he was hard to wrangle in the ring, wasn't he? Because he was so inexperienced.
Yeah, he was a great football player, but he hadn't that much talent as a wrestler. Yeah. How would you? I mean, if he would have trained more, and if he had the chance to train more, I think yes. But they just threw him out there, and he had to perform.
Yeah. How would you, as a probably more of a veteran by this point, how would you work around Steve best?
Just keep it easy, simple. No fancy stuff. Not too long high spots or anything like that.
Did you know that he was going through a divorce at the time with Deborah in real life, or were you not aware of that at the time?
I think that was shortly after that. Yeah.
Was it shortly after? Okay, I've only got a few more, and then I will leave you alone. I promise.
That's okay. That's okay.
Jody Hamilton.
The owner or the head trainer of the power plant. And he was a big star back in the day. I think the Assassin or something like that.
Yeah,
it was called. but that I really don't know that much about him, so I can't say anything.
Okay, Nick Patrick, the
His
referee.
son, his son, great referee, great guy.
Virgil,
also, I mean, nice guy, but in my opinion, his wrestling abilities weren't that much like others had the talent for it. But I mean, he definitely deserved to be in the sport because he did a great job in the ring. And it's not only about wrestling, it's about the whole package, you know.
Scott Norton.
Powerful man and also a very nice guy. I mean, I met him in New Japan also the first time. And I mean, big star over there, really big star. And I mean, really a huge man, very impressive.
He's a terrifying man. Is he the strongest guy you ever wrestled? Who was the strongest?
Well, I really can't recall how strong anybody is because you work together. You know, if it would have been a shoot, then I could say, oh, this guy was very strong or that guy. But of course, he just lifted me like this, you know.
Eric Bischoff.
Very smart businessman. Definitely.
Did he treat you well, you think, as a boss throughout the years?
Yes, I think he treated me well. And, you know, I have to thank him that he got me under contract and he kept me under contract. And he saw the potential in my work and in my gimmick. And I just have to be grateful. I mean, the States were one of the best times in my life. I got to travel the world. I got to wrestle all kinds of different wrestlers, big names, all over the place. I made really good money, so I can't say anything bad about him. I mean, of course, there's a lot of pressure on that guy also. You know, he was the boss of this company, and everybody expected that WCW was number one or will be for a long time. So, of course, there were moments where I was maybe pissed at him, like when the time was when I had my Berlin gimmick at the beginning and we had to postpone it because of some shootings which happened at that time.
Oh, Columbine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I understood at that time, but you know, I was so eager to go back in the ring. I wanted to go back in the ring, and he just said, we have to wait. And of course, he was the older man, the wiser man. I mean, he had more life experience, and it was the right decision. But I can't say anything bad about him. And that's one thing in the business I really don't like about guys who, you know, talk shit about other people afterwards. I mean, they have to be grateful that they lived that life, you know. I mean, they don't realize what kind of life they live compared to the normal people. You know, normal people, they get like, 2,000 euros a month or whatever, or 2,000 pounds. They get like 30,000 pounds or 50,000 pounds. You know, that's crazy. They should just be happy for, you know, wrestling and having that lifestyle they have. That's like a lottery, you know, winning a lottery. So
I do a weekly podcast with Dutch Mantel, and he always says if it wasn't for wrestling, he would have had to have gotten a real job.
Yeah, and, right, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the luckiest guy on earth. I mean, we can live our dream. We travel the world. We meet all kinds of different people, cultures, and everything like that. You know, and are able to make a lot of money if we're lucky. You know, so I can't say anything really bad about it.
And the final one, Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara.
In my opinion, I pointed out, in my opinion, Vince Russo is the reason why WCW does not exist anymore. Ed Ferrara was very great mind. I think Vince Russo also had a great mind, but it didn't fit for the WCW product. We had a different fan base, we had a different product, We have different selling points, unique selling points, and Vince Russo wanted to change it to a WWE product, and that didn't work. So
who was the best booker then in your mind? Kevin Sullivan? Who did you think was consistently always had your back, creatively speaking?
I would say Flair. Definitely, in my opinion. But that's maybe just because he brought me in some sort. So, you know.
You're still in your 40s as well, and Ric Flair's still getting back in the ring quite soon. Does that spur you on to make a comeback?
Well, actually, I've always thought about it. Just being a promoter now with my company, New European Championship Wrestling, I was so busy, you know, promoting the events, planning the shows. My company was on 3 TV stations, you know, producing TV, you know, doing all the storylines. I had my staff was about 60 people, backstage staff. And also on the other side, I was running my school. And my school was booked out for a year and a half in advance. There was no time. I was like working like 80 hours a week. And if you do a lot of office work and sitting, you know, you're not that fit anymore. So stepping back in the ring, you need at least a half a year to get yourself in shape, like wrestling wise, bumping wise and stuff like that. Of course, I did on a few occasions, I do training matches and stuff like that, but it's not the same when you prepare yourself for TV or whatever. So maybe if somebody calls me, you know, if the WWE officials thinks, hey, we bring that kid in or whatever, who knows?
Well, there you go, promoters out there. Give him 6 months in advance and pay him well, and you might get Alex Wright back out of retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
I just saw your Twitter as well. What, are you nearly 300 pounds now?
Yeah, 295, yeah, about.
Crikey. How have you managed to get yourself that big? Because like when you were wrestling,
Hey, a lot of fast food. No, just kidding. No, I'm, you know, I always was able to gain a lot of weight very quickly, build up muscle also. But when I started in WCW, I wanted to be that lean, skinny, more guy. And it was very tough for me because I had such a strict diet. It was killing me. I mean, the chicken, the oil on the chicken, I used a napkin to get it off. It's just that no fat was on it and, you know, all kind of shit. So that was a tough time. So I rather like being 295 now, you know. Now I have, instead of a 6-pack, I have a 1-pack, but that's fine.
You've still got the big arms though, haven't you?
Yeah, I have big arms. Yeah.
Good man. Because that's what everyone wants. Everyone just wants the big arms, really, don't
big
they?
arms, yeah.
Right, man. Would you like to hit me with some plugs then for your school or anything else you want to get out?
Yeah, if anybody's interested in learning the wrestling the right way, then check out my website, www.prowrestlingschool.de. In September this year, we have an upcoming seminar for beginners. It's 2 days, so check it out if you're interested. You definitely will enjoy it and learn a lot. And in 2023, my promotion starts after Corona again. If you want to check out that site, or on Facebook, it's New European Championship Wrestling. And just hit it with a like, and I'm very appreciative.
Any social media?
Achtung, maybe I come to the UK and kick your ass, James.
I'm giving you my address.
You're very nice. You're going to be in my tag team, okay?
I was like, well, I'm not giving you my address now.
No.
You'll never find me.
Actually, you could come over and you join the seminar.
Yeah. Well,
do you have wrestling training?
Do you know, I went to some school once when I was 18. So this was nearly 20 years ago. And I could tell from the minute I walked in, it was shit. Because I went to the trainer, and the trainer says, oh, are you new? And I went, yeah. And he gave me a printout of just some moves, like a full Nelson, a brain buster, a pile driver. And it's like, do you know all these moves? And I went, yeah. And that was apparently my first lesson. I never went back.
Okay. Well, do you come to my school?
Do you get many Like, are they all Europeans who turn up, or do you get Americans coming down?
No. I have from all over the world. I have guys now. Somebody's training from the States. Then I have from Switzerland. I have from France. I have from Norway. I have from Egypt. I have from all over the world people. So you're missing.
I'd love to do it, you know.
I don't get you out of that anymore. No, you're more than welcome to join.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to Germany a couple of times. It's always I've been to Stuttgart. I've been to Frankfurt. Never Nuremberg.
How about Munich, Oktoberfest?
No, I never went to Munich either. Me and the missus are going to some Christmas market somewhere in Europe for like in November. We don't know which one yet. Which are the best Christmas markets, do you think?
Well, they usually say actually Nuremberg.
Mm?
I really don't think that it's that special in Nuremberg. I would recommend Dresden. It's very nice.
Really?
It's a good one. Or actually, they have a lot of markets, smaller markets in castles.
Oh, really?
That's very nice in the winter time. If it snows, if no snow, it's not that special.
No. So all right. So I have to make sure it snows and then like book a flight the next day then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Just for the people out there that they know my work as a trainer, Fabian Eichner in NXT, he's a student of mine. He's very well. He will have a good career. I'm sure. Who
have we got any other famous names you can throw out there or that you've
From
trained?
My students?
Yeah.
Well, I work together with the Performance Center, with a talent pool over there, and but like since Corona, everything went like down, and it all starts again.
Is everyone wearing masks still in shops in Germany? Because over in the UK, it's a free for all now.
We only have to wear them in medical institutions, like hospitals and stuff like that.
Yeah, same with us now.
But it will change again, believe me. End of the year, everybody wears masks again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because our infection rate's just gone. Whew. But it's because we gave up on the masks a year ago, and we were just like, just get it, deal with it.
It's the Freedom Day, right? Was it? What was it? Yeah, same here.
Yeah, everyone got as pissed, drunk as anything. Yeah. As soon as Freedom Day was on, it was like, whew, Freedom Day.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was a tough year and a half. Yeah, I mean, bad years. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're back on the horse now, back training students, and if there's anybody out there who wants to go there or inquire or look at the website, all the links will be on all the clips. You know how I do it. But for now, thank you so much, Alex, for spending so much time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You've been a great guest.
Thanks for having me.
And amazingly, I say not amazingly at all, the people that want to know more about you than any other guest I've had in like the 100 people I've interviewed.
Yeah,
amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again next week. And thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much.